That morning had started like any other for Daniel. The alarm buzzed at 5 a.m. in his tiny, run-down apartment on the edge of the city. The paint on the walls was peeling, the refrigerator barely worked, and the thin mattress on the floor creaked whenever he shifted. But there was no room for self-pity. Daniel had a little boy depending on him, Michael, his 7-year-old son. Michael slept on the worn-out couch, wrapped in a blanket that had seen better days. His small chest rose and fell peacefully. Daniel stood there for a moment, staring at his son, whispering the same promise he made every morning. One day, buddy, life's gonna be better. But deep down, he wasn't sure when or if that day would come. Daniel's life hadn't been kind to him. His wife had walked out years ago, leaving him to raise Michael alone. At first, he thought he could handle it, but the bills piled up, jobs came and went, and poverty gripped him tighter every year. He worked 2 jobs. Delivery driver during the day, dishwasher at night. Even then, he was always behind on rent, juggling overdue notices like they were part of his routine. There were days when dinner was nothing but instant noodles. Days when he told Michael he wasn't hungry, just so his son could eat a little more. And though the world saw Daniel as a man beaten by life, his son saw him as a hero. That was enough to keep him going. The twins' world. On the other side of the city, 2 little girls were getting ready for school in a world completely opposite from Daniel's. Identical twins Emma and Grace had sparkling shoes, neatly braided hair, and matching pink backpacks. They lived in a mansion with polished floors, endless hallways, and a staff of people who catered to their needs. Their mother, Isabella Carter, was one of the most successful businesswomen in town. She owned companies, properties, and even drove a Rolls Royce. But money doesn't buy time. Isabella was always busy. Meetings, flights, conferences. The twins often felt her absence, even though she loved them dearly. That morning, she kissed their foreheads quickly before rushing to another meeting, promising she'd pick them up after school. The twins didn't complain. They smiled, waved, and climbed aboard the school bus with dozens of other children. Neither they nor Isabella knew their lives were about to change forever. Daniel had just finished delivering groceries and was walking back home when he heard it, the cough of an engine, a loud pop, and then a roar. The yellow school bus, just a block away, erupted in smoke. Black clouds poured out as flames burst beneath it. Children's screams pierced the air. People stopped and stared. A few shouted, but nobody moved closer. Fear paralyzed them. Daniel dropped the grocery bags in his hands, apples rolling into the street. His body moved before his mind caught up. He sprinted toward the bus, his heart pounding. Inside, chaos ruled. Kids pounded on the glass, crying, begging tea. Come on. One at a time. Jump, he shouted, his voice hoarse. Children began climbing toward him, crying, coughing, stumbling into the arms of waiting bystanders. But then he saw them, the twins. Emma and Grace. They were at the very back of the bus, holding hands tightly, frozen in terror. Sweetheart, come to me. Jump. Daniel yelled. But they couldn't move. Their eyes were wide, their little bodies shaking. The flames were growing closer. Daniel didn't hesitate. He climbed inside the bus, the heat unbearable, smoke choking his lungs. His skin burned as he stumbled forward. It's okay, I've got you, he whispered, scooping both girls into his arms. The metal screeched, the fire roared, but Daniel pushed forward, shielding the twins with his body. He smashed through the window again, falling onto the pavement just as the bus exploded behind him. The crowd gasped. Some cried. Others clapped. The twins were safe. The Rolls Royce. Hours later, firefighters had put out the flames, paramedics had treated the children, and the chaos finally calmed. Daniel sat on the curb, his clothes torn, his arms blistered. He didn't ask for attention. He didn't want recognition. For him, saving those kids was simply the right thing to do. Then the sound of an engine hummed down the street, smooth, polished, unmistakably expensive. A black Rolls Royce pulled up. The door opened, and out stepped a woman in heels and a tailored suit. It was Isabella. The twins ran to her, shouting, "Mommy," as they clung to her tightly. Tears streamed down her face as she hugged them, whispering prayers of gratitude. Then her eyes shifted to Daniel. He looked exhausted, scarred, covered in ash. But in her eyes, he was the most extraordinary man she had ever seen. "You saved my daughters," Isabella said, her voice trembling. "How can I ever thank you?" Daniel shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. They're safe, that's all that matters." But Isabella didn't look away. She saw beyond his poverty. Beyond his broken shoes and blistered hands. She saw courage. And then, with the crowd still watching, she said words nobody expected. "Marry me." At first, Daniel thought he misheard. A wealthy woman like Isabella proposing to a man who couldn't even pay rent? It didn't make sense. But Isabella wasn't joking. She saw in Daniel something rare, something her world of luxury had never given her. A man who risked everything for people he didn't even know. A man who valued life more than wealth. Yet life after that day wasn't simple. Daniel struggled to adjust to Isabella's world. He was uncomfortable in the mansion, out of place at the dinner table, unsure how to act around her wealthy friends. Some of them mocked him, calling him a charity case. Others whispered that Isabella had lost her mind. Daniel felt the sting of those words. More than once, he thought about walking away, convinced he didn't belong. But Isabella stood by him. "You don't need money, Daniel." Slowly, the two worlds blended. Daniel taught Isabella's daughters the value of kindness and humility. He fixed their bikes himself instead of calling staff, taught them how to make pancakes, and read them bedtime stories with silly voices. Michael, Daniel's son, suddenly had sisters and a bigger family than he had ever dreamed of. For the first time, he felt he belonged somewhere beyond a small apartment. And Isabella? She rediscovered love. Not the glamorous, surface-level love of her past, but a deep, steady, selfless kind of love. Together, they faced criticism, insecurity, and judgment, but they overcame it all. Because their bond wasn't built on wealth or appearances. It was built on sacrifice. On courage. On love. Final message. From the ashes of a burning bus rose a story of redemption. A struggling single dad who had nothing found everything, not because he sought it, but because he gave everything he had. And in return, he gained not only a family, but a future filled with love. Inspiration for viewers. This story reminds us that true worth is not measured by money, power, or appearance. It's measured by kindness, courage, and the willingness to put others before yourself. Speech balloon, what about you? If you were in Daniel's place, would you have run into that fire? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Be Kind Always, where real and inspiring stories remind us that kindness is the most powerful force in the world.